All right, today we're going to talk about absolute value. This is a definition that you actually need to memorize. It's kind of a requirement, totally. You'll have to know it on your test. Absolute value is the distance from, well, let's say the distance a number is from 0. Now, one thing you need to know about distance is that it is always positive. An example of this is if you go to Las Vegas and it's, let's just pretend it's 100 miles, you don't say I came home and traveled negative 100 miles. It's always positive. So, absolute value, basically what it does is it drops the negative signs off. It's like a metal detector at an airport. When you go through, you take all the metal stuff off first and come through, and it's just you. You don't have anything with you. So as these numbers pass through the absolute value, the only thing that happens is that we drop off negative signs. So 5, if it passes through, it didn't have any metal to start with, so it's just 5. Negative 125 is going to drop off that negative sign, and it will come out just 125. 6, again, it doesn't have any metal. It just walks through unchanged, didn't have to drop anything off. And negative 2/5, it's going to drop off that negative sign and just be 2/5. So remember, absolute value is the distance from 0, and it's always positive. Do not get confused. A lot of kids think it means opposite, and that's not true. It's just getting rid of negative signs. In math class, we don't have a lot of time to draw metal detectors or machines, so when they draw absolute value or write absolute value on a paper, they use 2 really long lines and they put a number in between. So this would be the absolute value of negative 3. And I kind of think of it like a machine, and it just drops out the number and gets rid of the negative. So the answer to that would be 3. Where does absolute value belong in the order of operations? You know, giant elephants marching down a street, or grouping exponents, multiplication, division, and addition and subtraction. Absolute value is first. It is the very first thing you do before you do anything else. You rewrite the problem without the absolute values. So you first need to identify the absolute values and figure those out, okay? It's like a grouping. It belongs in the grouping category. So that being said, if we're solving these problems right here, we would drop out the 9, get rid of the negative. 9 times 5 is 45. And this problem, I'm going to give you a second to try it. Okay, so first the absolute value of negative 4 is 4. And then we bring down everything else, just like our Doritos from earlier in the year. 6 minus 4 is 2. This last one's kind of a big one. Go ahead and do your absolute values and then check in just a second. So we're going to drop out a 2, a plus. Sorry, I like to make little chutes to drop out numbers. 15. Now that minus sign is not in an absolute value sign. And that's one reason that I connect these, so that I can see there's a minus sign there. Sorry. I'm going to drop down an 8. So now I do Doritos. 2 plus 15 is 17. Minus 8, it's going to give me 9. Okay, no big deal. So now ordering. We talked about ordering rational numbers before, and we've talked about counting down and counting up. So the very first thing that you do if you're going to order a set of numbers and there are absolute values in it is go ahead and drop them out. Okay, and I tell you to circle what you're starting with. In this case, it says the least. So our least numbers are going to be any with a negative sign, and it looks like there's only one after we do our absolute values. So we're going to start with negative 11. And then we hit 0, and in this case there is a 0 there, so 0, and then we're going to count up, 1, 2, 3, and instead of writing the 3, we actually write it in the absolute value sign. 4, 5, 6, so we're going to write that as absolute value of negative 6, 9, and 10. Okay, this is the first part of your notes. There'll be another video to watch right below this one.